Welcome to episode 92 of the Whatnauts review show, where every week we pick a story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, TV series, anime, manga, comic book, audio show, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we talk about it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined, as always, by Kyle Springer.
Hello, hello. How is it going, Melissa?
It's pretty good. I remember on Friday when we were recording our latest episode of our Captain's Log podcast, we were talking about productivity. Yesterday,
yes.
I cleaned and organized my whole pantry. I put together a Goodwill box. I did every dish.
Good stuff.
How about you?
I had a very unproductive day yesterday.
That's
I played
good too.
video games all day, and it was great.
But that is productivity for you.
I mean, yeah, for me. But instead of like cleaning or doing stuff, I was just like, I'm going to take the day for me and not do anything that I need to do. I'm just going to avoid all responsibility.
That's productivity for the soul.
Yeah.
I got to respect that too, instead of me like obsessively wiping down every surface in my apartment.
Yeah. I do have a busy day today, though. I do need to clean all my dishes and clean my room and stuff like that. But I still need to edit all the podcasts and stuff and make sure those go up tonight. And we also postponed crossplay from yesterday to tonight. So I have another podcast to do tonight on top of that. So busy day.
Whew.
It'll be fun, though.
That does sound fun. Well, we are starting something new here on the review show. This is our first episode in a new series we're trying. We pick a topic one week, we record about it the next week. So everything we pick has to fit within a 1 week time span. So when we're talking about a TV show, it's normally season 1, maybe seasons 1 and 2 if they're pretty short. And we never get that far in anything. We have the sampler platter kind of approach due to the format of the show. So now we're trying something where the last Sunday of the month, as we record it, so that may release last week of the month, first week of the month for you, the audience, we are going to be watching a show to completion. Every month we're going to check in with another season or couple seasons until we've actually watched an entirety of something.
Thing. Yes.
Yeah.
This was your idea. This was your initiative. And I thought it was fantastic. I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's just go.
New year, new decade. Let's try something new.
Exactly. We kind of had something like this back in the day on the Whatnauts podcast, where every 3 months we had a special episode where we had read all of something or who knows what, but it was just that one singular thing. And it was always awkward, like making sure Paul had read the thing. It's like, have you read the thing? He's like, oh yeah, that thing that we're supposed to have read by next week. I'm gonna watch all 6 seasons this week. So I think this is a little bit more doable.
Yes.
To follow along at home and just kind of keep up with things. Like, you don't have to be like, I have to watch all 18 seasons of Law and Order. Oh no.
Could you imagine the swivel we would take into being a Law and Order podcast after we do all this genre stuff?
One day, Melissa, one day.
No robots, no vampires, no ghosts.
All law, all order, all the time. No, but what are we starting out with?
We are starting out with the Adult Swim cartoon, The Venture Brothers. This show started back in 2004. This is a long-running one. And it aired a season like every 2 or 3 years or so. So they've aired since 2004, 7 seasons.
Okay, good stuff.
So we are starting with seasons 1 and 2, which aired in 2004 and 2006, I think.
Yes, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have on a Venture Brothers t-shirt.
Yeah, I got the Monarch logo.
There you go.
This is a favorite show of mine. This was my absolute favorite thing in college. Like, this show got me through college. I watched those DVDs constantly. But it had been a while, like, since I'd sat down and wanted to rewatch it, because there is so much of it, and there's a surprising amount of mythology that it develops. And when season 7 came out, I'm like, I want to rewatch the previous 6 seasons. Like, it's time for me to re-up on all of this, and then I'll watch season 7. And I hadn't gotten to it yet. And I'm like, why not make this a podcast project?
Yeah. And I think it's going to work perfectly. I have never seen this show. So this is the first time that I am watching it. It's going to be interesting to talk about. I've seen this cartoon nonstop, just like on my radar.
Yeah.
People I know watch it, love it. They think it's fantastic. I kind of grew up on Adult Swim and Cartoon Network and stuff like that, but this is just one that I just never got into for whatever reason. I guess back then I was more like, show me Dragon Ball Z, show me Gundam, show me Yu Yu Hakusho, give me the animes. And then this was like, this is not anime. I don't want this. So who knows? But here we are. I have now watched seasons 1 and 2 of Venture Brothers, The Venture Brothers. I always like to leave off the.
It is formally The Venture Bros, period. Abbreviated.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Okay, so take me back to, I guess, college days, which is when you first watched it. How did you discover this show?
I also grew up on Adult Swim. I think I remember the first night Adult Swim ever came on. I just happened to be staying up late that night, and I'm like, what is this magical new world? I was like 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah.
So I'd seen bits of this show around, and I got what it was. It starts as a Johnny Quest spoof, basically. Mm-hmm. It's spoof of Johnny Quest and a little bit of Scooby-Doo and all these other like retro yesteryear kind of kids adventure sci-fi cartoons. And that's what I thought it was. It's just like a spoof comedy show. And then I'm in college and I have this little college TV that doesn't get many channels, but it does get Cartoon Network. So I'm watching a lot of Adult Swim. Like, it's always on in the background while I'm just staying up studying, just so that I have that background noise.
Sure.
And I'd never really watched the show. I'd caught an episode or 2 of it. But I noticed, it's going to be hard to talk about this without spoiling it. At that time, season 4 was airing. And and I could tell that there had been a major event that had happened in like the previous season. And now this season was dealing with the fallout from it. And I was realizing,
interesting,
these are real emotions here. Like, I thought this was just this goofy comedy show. There's something actually going on here. Like, there's real pathos. I'm intrigued by this. And then I happened to be at Best Buy and I found like the season 1 DVD like on sale. And I'm like, yeah, I'll buy this. I'll check this out from the beginning. And then I started from the beginning and where it is more jokey, but I knew where it was eventually going to go. And I'm like, what a journey the show takes. Oh, and I just really got into it. I latched onto it.
That's kind of what I've always heard is like, this show is really funny and it seems like that's all it is. But there is this like underlying story that they end up making.
Yeah.
All the characters that's actually really good. I remember there's another podcast that I used to listen to, and one of the hosts of that, like that, it was also one of his favorite shows. So he was always referencing it and always being like, oh, it's like this one thing that they do in that. And it's really great. You should check it out. And I was just like, one day I need to. So good. I'm excited to see where this ends up. Let's do, you kind of touched on the like elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Let's do a synopsis for like, I guess season 1 How do we want to tackle this? Because this is going to be a different thing of like, hey, at the end of every month we're covering the same show. We don't necessarily need to do a synopsis for the show again. Do we do like a synopsis for season 1 and season 2?
Well, let's start with the basic premise of the show beyond like these are the things it's inspired by and what its style is. So the titular Venture brothers are these teen twin boys named Hank and Dean, and their dad, Dr. Rusty Venture, is the super scientist. And they live this incredibly sheltered life. It's them on the Venture compound, which is all these laboratories and bases and things, just them and their dad and their bodyguard, Brock Samson. You know, that kind of classic, like, Johnny Quest formula of 2 kids, scientist, dad, and bodyguard.
Yeah.
And their dad, their grandfather had been this more classic, like, you know, Dr. Quest, like super scientist, like real smooth, like great action hero. And their dad had grown up as this
man.
Yeah.
He can do science. He can do adventure. He can do action.
Yeah.
He can do all the ladies.
Yes. Right? And so their dad had grown up as this boy adventurer following dad around. And then grandpa died and he had to step up and become the new super scientist leading this family company, and he's not good at it. So he's just this like bitter, sickly, jaded adult with this boy adventurer past that's still trying to like rejuvenate things, and he's still going on all these globe-trotting sci-fi adventures and dragging his sons along with him, and it's just like repeating this cycle of like, I'm trying to look cool and do these sciencey things, and my poor kids have like, they have no idea what the outside world is.
Complete idiots.
Like, they know, like, they've been on all of these great adventures. They're in the Sargasso Sea. You know, they've been to, like, the deserts of Mexico, but, like, they've never been to high school. They have no socialization skills. So it's these wide-eyed, innocent boys just following this jaded adult and their, like, really aggressive family bodyguard around. And they run into all of these supervillains, and Dr. Venture's number one arch nemesis is a butterfly-themed villain called the Monarch, who hates Dr. Venture. Like, he is his number one arch enemy, and like nobody knows why, and Dr. Venture like doesn't really care about him. But there's the Monarch time after time trying to break him down.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I think that about covers it. And like you said, it is a bunch of spoofs on Johnny Quest, on the Goonies, on Doctor Strange, on Scooby-Doo, on
lots
all
of
sorts
Marvel
of stuff.
comics in here. Yeah, like there's like a Fantastic Four team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's also got this like mid-century look to everything because it's inspired by like these 60s, 70s cartoons. So everything is really stylized to that era.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting show to watch because it was one of the ones that I think was like right before the high definition stuff. So season 1, you can tell, is like it's in 4:3. It's kind of not in HD and stuff like that. But then it's pretty much by the end of season 1, they've already gotten into HD. I think the finale was HD, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, 16:9. Great. High definition. I could actually see the lines. There's not like 2 of them on there.
It can be a really cinematic show. Some more behind the scenes stuff that I think is helpful to know is that this whole show, the creator's name is Jackson Public. And him and he's this other like writer creative partner named Doc Hammer. The 2 of them do the whole show.
Name.
They're both stage names. So they write everything. There's one episode that is not written by either of them, and it's written by Ben Edlund, creator of The Tick, which is where Jackson Public got his start. He used to work on The Tick. That's why Patrick Warburton is in this.
Yeah.
So everything is done by these 2 guys. And like they also do like half the voices on the show too. This is part of the reason why the show takes so long to produce, is because it's such a small team.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives the show this really like consistent, intimate feel where like there's all these really tight running jokes and things like that, and lots of like extended dialogue scenes of just one character bouncing off another character, because it's just like the direct portrayal of these two guys working with each other and goofing off with each other.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's got kind of a different feel than a lot of other shows because of that background.
Now, I have another question. When you were pitching this to me, I think behind the scenes, we might have mentioned it on the retrospective or something, but you were mentioning something to me about the pilot.
Yes. So this show, all of it's on Hulu. And when you go to Hulu, the first episode listed, it's called The Terrible Secret of Turtle Bay. That's actually the pilot episode. That wasn't a part of the regular, like, season 1 episode order. Like, Adult Swim aired it, but it aired it considerably before season 1, the whole season 1 started airing.
Sure.
And it's, like, it looks weird. It feels weird. Like, it's a much more rougher draft of what the Venture Brothers is going to be. And I think it's interesting once you already know the show, but I don't think it's a great introduction to the show if you haven't seen it before. Like, it's not as part of the episode order on the DVDs. It's like an extra. So I don't know why it's the first thing they would try and give to an audience. So this is just my word to you. Like, start with Dia de los Dangerous, get a little bit farther, then try going back to The Terrible Secret of Turtle Bay. I think that's how it's best enjoyed.
Okay. Good advice that I did not take. I went in knowing you had told me this, and like, this first one is very rough. Don't expect it to be what the rest of the show will be. So I was like, all right, at least knowing that, I feel like I'm fine, and I can just start with that, with the, like, hey, this is kind of what they pitched.
Yeah.
Like, hey, here's a family, here's some antic. Like, it still has the same formula, but it's not like, it's not the start of a show per se, or what you would want to start it on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just a proof of concept.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. I guess we are going to do what we normally do, get into a little bit of housekeeping, and then we will get into spoilers. So, our website, thewhatnauts.com, is where you can find out more about us and our shows. We have multiple podcasts that we think you should check out, like Crossplay, the shirt that I'm wearing here. There you go. So if you like what we do, patreon.com/the Whatnauts is where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. You guys can also get exclusive episodes at the $3 tier. And we would also like to give a big shout out to our patrons at the $5 tier. So thank you, Sam, and thank you, Christine, for helping us keep the mics on.
Thank you. We
also have a merch store, as you just saw me modeling this shirt if you're watching the YouTube version. Thewhatnauts.com/store is where you can pick up some merch. There's all sorts of stuff on there. Let's see. We just recorded a Patreon exclusive episode of the Captain's Log, in which we did a fantasy movie draft. Melissa, this was your initiative as well.
This was my concept. Yeah, we were all going to pick non-franchise movies and build a cinematic universe out of them. Like, they had all been designed to fit together from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like, make your own Avengers team.
It was a lot of fun, and Ignacio, who is one of our other co-hosts, he's on the show Crossplay with me. He joined us for that one, and that was a lot of fun. He had a good theme. You had a good theme. I ended up with a theme that I was not planning.
It was good, though.
It was good. It was fun. You guys should check it out. Once more, that's patreon.com/thewhatnauts. Our website is thewhatnauts.com. I think that's about it for housekeeping. Go like, share, subscribe, sell your soul, do all that fine stuff. But with that, let's get into spoilers.
Yes.
Perfect. Here we are in the spoiler zone.
So now that you have started watching the show and you have already committed to watching all 7 seasons of it, how do you feel? Do you regret that decision?
No, I don't.
Good.
I
Otherwise, this would be bad news.
Yeah, dude, Melissa, this show was awful. Why would you even like this? No. It's good. I'm enjoying it. I don't think I'm fully into it yet. If that makes sense, because it is one of those things that, like, I know this is leading somewhere, and they've started to sow those seeds, especially with like the whole like relationship status of the Monarch and him being married and having this big ceremony. Like, that was a big event at the end of season 2, and so I know that like things are going to continue to develop, and I'm excited to see where it continues to go. I think overall, though, I'm still not as invested as I would have hoped to be. It's still good. I still enjoy it.
I know. I think it does take a little while to get going, and I think it's like on this Johnny Quest like comedy adventure spoof premise. I think it succeeds immediately, but it takes a little while for it to become more of its own thing,
right?
And to develop this larger mythology and these stronger like character arcs that you watch develop.
Yeah, it really reminds me of someone just playing with action figures and just making up their own story. They have a Fred from Scooby-Doo, and they have Doctor Strange, and they're all like, and like, that's it. That's the show, and yeah, it's fun to see that immediately. Of just like, he looks exactly like Fred from Scooby-Doo. How are they getting away with this? Like,
it's just a blonde teen with a blue neckerchief. Yeah, going back on this show, I realize how Marvel heavy it is. Like, we've got Dr. Orpheus, who is Doctor Strange. We have the Impossible Family, who are the Fantastic Four. There's Jefferson Twilight, who's Blade, but also like Blackula. And he's like, I'm a Blackula hunter. Like, there's no way to PC that up. Like, I hunt black vampires. I hunt Blackulas. You want African-American vampires? Well, no, sometimes I go to England. African-American, that's not something I have over there. I hunt Blackulas. It's okay. You can say that. Like, really preposterous mashups like that. I think it takes until, like, several seasons in for them to get a DC-inspired character. Like, it's got this whole like comic book background to it, but rewatching this thing, knowing more about comic books now, I'm like, oh, this is so Marvel heavy.
Marvel. The only DC thing I see is Hank's PJs. He's Aquaman.
Yeah.
And what's his brother's name? Dean. He's Spider-Man. He has the Spider-Man.
I love their
outfit.
mismatching.
I kind of want those ones.
Yes.
But yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it a lot. I think it works as kind of a sketch comedy.
Kinda, yeah.
So if that makes sense of it's, oh boy, it's very similar to the Robot Chicken formula, but in an animated way and a little bit more cohesive.
Yeah, like there is a story there that they are following, but within the story you do get these bits that are like these set apart sketches, kind of.
Yeah, or you could see how certain jokes and certain punch lines that they're setting up could just be like one smaller skit. It's like okay, they're stringing this thing out for a while, for better or for worse. And yeah, like I like it. I'm enjoying it. I see how it could be a perfect show to just have on in the background, like you mentioned. Like, I just had this on, and then one day looked up and was like, oh, they're dealing with the ramifications of something that happened in a season before.
Yeah.
Interesting. But here's what I'm most interested to find out where this show go, or at least what I was most interested in these first two seasons. I think the big piece of lore that really woke me up, so to speak. I think especially in season 1, it really sticks to, we're just mashing together these action figures. But at the end of season 1,
yes,
they kill Hank and Dean. And I vaguely remember seeing either a clip of the show where that happens, or an advertisement or a commercial or something. Like, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, huh. Okay, like, I understand this is a cliffhanger. They're not dead, because I know they're in seasons after this. What are they doing? Like, what are they up to here? And that was the first thing that I felt like really invested in. And then there's an episode in season 2 that I really enjoyed, where a knockoff Scooby Gang comes in, and
that's the Ben Edlund episode.
Yeah, it's a great one. But yeah, it did feel really different, but it's ridiculous, I think, in the right ways. I was actually describing that to someone, and I was like, yeah, so there's this like knockoff Scooby-Doo gang, and they stumble upon the Venture compound, and they see their neighbor, the Doctor Strange knockoff, Dr. Orpheus, and so they think he's a vampire, and so they go like hunting for vampires. But at the same time, Dr. Venture is working on resurrecting a like Monarch bad guy. So there's this like zombie thing.
Yeah, he's Frankensteining together a bunch of dead henchmen.
Yeah, and so like, and they're like, what the hell is going on? There's Dracula, there's Frankenstein, and then there's this big reveal that I forget his name, the Shaggy knockoff, ran into Hank and Dean in like Peru, or who knows where, and they killed them. And so to see Hank and Dean again, they're like, it's ghosts, we're seeing ghosts. And they're just like, the whole Scooby gang is like Shaggy is all like on meth or something. Yeah. Scooby can talk, but he only talks to him, and so
it's
he's
like a Son of
the
Sam
dog can
thing.
talk, and no one believes him. Velma is this like chain smoking extremist feminist on like, we need to kill all the men, and it's just like, what in the world? Daphne is this like mail order Russian
she's basically like
bride.
She's a Patty Hearst, like she's been kidnapped, and she's like, are you guys gonna let me go home? Well, like, I'll go along with you for right now, but yeah, well, you've said I could go visit my parents for like the last 3 years.
And then the Fred of the group is like oddly a serial killer. Like, he's just that, like, gets oddly dark, and like, I'm holding all of you hostage, but we're still gonna go on adventures. It's crazy.
I love that they're still doing the Scooby-Doo classic cartoon sound effects for like everything that's happening, even if it is like really grim.
It's so wild. And then, but that I'm mentioning all of this is because they eventually chase Hank and Dean into a room in the compound that they haven't been in. Yeah. And this is where they keep the clones. Yes. And Hank and Dean finally realize that they're clones. We knew this. We've had the whole thing explained, but they haven't, and they still don't know, and they're finding out by finding them, and they just go into shock and like shut down, and it just like more chaos ensues. But it's just like, they're actually starting to continue this story here. I like that. Tell me more, please. So I really enjoyed that one.
That is one of my favorite elements of the show, that Dr. Venture has repeatedly been cloning his kids every time they die. And there's a whole montage in like the season 2 premiere of like 12 times they've died.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why he seems so like jaded and careless, is that he knows like, well, if these boys die, I can get new ones. And they sleep in these learning beds where like they go to sleep in these pods, and the pods like program in like, they're like subliminally playing like educational videos at them all night to implant in their brains. And this is why the boys don't go to school. But those also record their memories. So every set of clones has, you know, most of the memories of the real living Hank and Dean from the previous time. So this is why he seems careless, but it's also like, oh, you love your boys so much, you refuse to let them die in any form. Like, it's twisted mad scientist love, but it's a form of love. And then when the boys do stumble upon this clone lair, like, he knows he has to do something about it. So he's like, you boys, you spoiled your Christmas present. I was going to surprise you. A whole army of yourselves for Christmas that would look up to you and follow your orders and think you were cool. Well, boys, I'll just have to come up with a better surprise. And it's like, it's so smarmy, but there is this level of like care there. Like this is what I love, of this bitter dad who like is always complaining, is so jaded, is so bitter, but like there's something there, and every once in a while it breaks through, or you see it even though you're not being overtly told. Like it's not a clear read of this is something he does because he loves his boys. It's all wrapped up in this mad scientist, like, you know, super science corporation insanity. But it's like, those boys are his life. He's bad at expressing it, but he will always watch out for them. He always, like, he can't live without them in some form.
So the next thing that I kind of want to mention, and this is kind of building on my theory of where the show is going, but I wanted to talk a little bit. I don't have too much to say, but Rusty Venture's like clone brother thing that's there. I don't know his name.
Oh, JJ. Jonas Venture Jr. So he like throughout season 1, Dr. Venture, like, he'll have these weird nightmares of like he's back in the womb and there's another one of him attacking him. And then in the season 1 finale, it turns out that he had like absorbed a twin in the womb, but this twin has like continued to grow to adulthood, and it like bursts out of him, and it's this small, you know, he's like 2 feet high, like one of his arms never formed right, but he's like a full adult, and he's like, it's time for me to like, I've broken out, it's time for me to take my place on the throne as the other Venture son. I deserve some of this legacy too.
Yeah, it's a really interesting gag because it also throws a twist on the Venture brothers' name.
Yeah,
like, well, now it's kind of about them. It's about the father who we thought was an only child, but is maybe not.
Yeah.
Like, and so yeah, like I like seeing where that is going to, even though I think that may be one of the least interesting things that I thought of season 1 and 2, like of the things that I wanted to know more of. That was, I think, least on.
I want to know about it, but it's not a priority for me.
Sure, yeah, but I do like seeing that he is the more calm, more rational, more just like, well, we can actually get this stuff done if we're actually smart. But like, we don't need to be this dumb about things.
It like Rusty Venture has never lived up to his dad's legacy. But then out pops this weird little brother he didn't know he had, and he is absolutely the living image of Jonas Venture Sr. And like, that's also why he's so upset about it. And he's so much more successful than he is. He has a whole island.
Yep.
He's dating Sally Impossible.
Which we'll talk about the impossibles in a bit. But yeah, so that kind of adds a little bit to my theory. The next thing that I want to talk about that also adds is Monarch.
Yes.
So like we mentioned at the top, you have a Monarch t-shirt on. He is obviously like the main villain of this show, or one of them, right? But he's kind of inept. He's not very capable. He doesn't really know what he's doing, but it's just the like old school, like, I am here to do villainy.
Yes.
And it's funny because even though he's not necessarily smart and other villains around him might be smarter, he still feels like he's surrounded by idiots.
Yes, that's it.
Which is like, I think the best possible joke you can make with that. Just make him, the idiot, feel like he is surrounded by idiots.
He messes up so much. None of his plans go well, but it never breaks his confidence. Like, he's always convinced he's right. And if he just tries again, he's like, well, I'll get the henchmen to work harder this time. And, record our last attack. We'll watch it again. We'll figure out what we did wrong. We're going to get different weapons. Like, he plots all this out and he's like, well, next time I'm going to do it. I am going to destroy Dr. Venture.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But something I noticed, which don't spoil it if it is or if it's not, but he has the same nose as Rusty Venture. He has the same beard at like the
same
shape
hair
of it.
color.
Yeah, it's the same hair color. It's the same shape. He has the same nose. His eyebrows, they're extended to make it look more like the antenna, but they're the same. And so I'm wondering if he's like a long lost brother, or just we haven't heard about it yet, or if he's a clone, or if he is the real son of well, what was his name? I forget the dad's name. Sure. And like, if he's the real son and Rusty is the clone, who knows? And that's why he's also kind of jaded of just like, I wasn't the one that was loved, or who knows what. But I thought that was odd. It was just like,
what you're saying is absolutely understandable and valid, and I've also thought about these points. I'll say that much.
There you go.
Yeah,
so
you are not alone in this.
Theory. Yes. That down the road, that will somehow be explored. There is more kind of familial ties happening here. But that's all well and dandy. What, when you were finally going back to watch season 1 and 2, what was going on in your mind? Like, because you kind of knew where it ended up. Or at least at the time. But what was changing about your thoughts on that show, or what were you thinking?
I was a little surprised that some of the things I thought were like foundational bits of the show took a little while to develop. Like the two henchmen, Henchman 21 and Henchman 24. They're like this.
I think they're my favorite characters. They're fantastic.
They're this kind of like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Like, they're aware that they're henchmen, and how preposterous everything that they're doing is, but also like they are career henchmen. Like this is their life. They don't know how to do anything else.
Yeah.
When the Monarch needs them, there they'll be. Like they're not there. It takes them until like 7 or 8 episodes in, and they're just like sort of an amorphous pool of henchmen. And it takes a little while for us to pick these two out. Like these are the poster children of the henchmen, and a little while for them to get like their henchmen 21 and 24, and eventually we find out that 21's real name is Gary. And I don't think we ever find out 24's name. And we get like little glimpses into their private lives and their backstories.
Yeah.
I was surprised that wasn't like from episode 1 part of the formula of the show.
They have some really funny moments of just they're so good.
One of my
you
favorite
can't not love them.
One of my favorite lines in the whole series comes from 24, where they're about to go into a battle, and he says, "We're gonna get our asses kicked. We didn't have a breakfast."
What?
And that's one of those pairs of... No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think one of my favorite moments is when they are trying to recruit new henchmen, and they're like out at the park doing some like outreach thing.
Yes,
and he's like pretending to evangelize to another,
one of them's pretending to just be a random passerby on the street.
Yeah, and he's like, and we can turn your life around, and we'll give you all sorts of benefits and stuff like that, and it's great. And here's why you should join. He's like speaking really loudly, and he's like, well, yeah, tell me more. I like it.
That's throughout the series. There will always be a pair of characters, and one of them is Doc Hammer, and one of them is Jackson Public. So the henchmen are one of those pairs. The Guild of Calamitous Intent, who's like the villain. It's like the villainy union. There's like 2 like point men. They almost seem like they're the customer service reps for the guild. Like those pair of guys is Doc and Jackson. The Monarch and Dr. Girlfriend is Doc and Jackson. And my favorite characters in the whole series, Billy Quizboy and Pete White, or another one of those pairs.
Fantastic.
I love them. My favorite episode by far out of season 1 is Tag Sale You're It, which is when Dr. Venture just has a garage sale of like old gadgets, and all of the villains and all of the heroes like come into his lawn, and it's all these heroes talking about like, oh, that's a villain I'd like to arch. Like, this is the bane of Dr. Venture's existence. He hates having all these super villains, but like Dr. Orpheus is like, oh, just having somebody despise you all the time. I don't know. I think it sounds kind of romantic. I wish I had that. And Billy and White are these like even lower than Dr. Venture. They're also these kind of kooky oddball scientists. Yeah. And they're trying to like pitch themselves to Dr. Girlfriend. Like she's going to be their new nemesis. They're like, well, you know, Billy here, you know, he was a trivia genius as a child, and he's got this robot hand. And then they're pitching themselves, and Pete White just says, I'm an albino. Like, they're just designed to look as weird as possible. And, like, they have all of these affectations, and you don't understand why they're always together and how they know each other and how they know Dr. Fincher or why they're there. But those two keep developing and developing. You get their backstory episode like a couple episodes into season 3.
Okay.
You also get the Monarch and Dr. Girlfriend's backstory episode. That's like the season 3 premiere. Like
gotcha.
There's
that would
all these
makes sense.
There's all these characters that are designed to just be like, they look weird, they sound weird, they're just oddballs, but everybody has got this really sincere backstory to them. Like these creators, like they're making up all these goofy characters, but they know who all of these people are. Like they know their backstories, they know what they want, they know like who they know else out in this universe, and like who they play against and who their enemies are. Like everything is so, even the people you see just for a flash are like really rich. It might take forever to get to their backstory, but there's something there. Like also in the yard sale episode, you see there's this guy, He has like like this weird Beatles haircut and little round glasses and this pink suit. It's a short, round little guy, and he's looking at a stack of magazines, and he's like, "Hey, nudie mags." You remember that guy?
Yeah.
He's on screen for like 2 seconds. He comes back as a major villain in season 5. We've not seen anything from him since then. He's in like 2 seconds of a season 1 episode, and then in season 5 he comes back to be a major player.
Yeah, like that's I think that is the thing I'm looking forward to the most, is like them starting to build their own lore, and which they've absolutely started to do that stuff, but just for them to really I don't want to say lean less on the like retro tropes of all the cartoons that they're pulling from, because I think they do that really well, but I want to see them do it in new ways and with their own characters, and not be like, oh, there's the Scooby Gang, there's the Fantastic Four. Like I now that they're in there, they've started to develop their own stories behind them, which I like a lot, and I want more of that. I don't know. Like I got the joke of the like Fantastic Four family, the Impossible family, which is pretty much just the like, it's the Fantastic Four, but with the outfits of the Incredibles, which I think
this is probably before the Incredibles. I think the Incredibles came out in like 2005.
It might be. Well, it might be around the exact same time.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Depending on when this was being made, who knows? But yeah, it's a really similar logo, but except they're all in like purple instead. But yeah, like it's one of those things. It's like, okay, I get the joke. It's a knockoff Fantastic Four. And then my favorite thing is once they finally escape. It's like, okay, now the Invisible Woman is dating the like usurped twin of Rusty Venture. Like once they escape and start making their own lives and their own relationships and stuff like that, that is the stuff that I really like to see in this. Or even the like back and forth of like, who is Dr. Girlfriend, or whatever her name is. Like, who is she gonna be with? Monarch? Is she gonna be with the like Phantom knockoff? Like, what's happening there?
If you're listening to this episode and you've never seen the Venture Brothers, they have a character called Phantom Limb, who is a man with invisible arms and legs. They're there, they're just invisible. So he's just like a torso floating around, but he's animated as if like his shoulder blades are attached to like walking, arms that are moving. It's a great concept, and he is somebody who does keep coming back as a foe.
Yeah,
you do learn more about him.
Good villain, because he's a villain for everyone.
Yes.
Like, it's not just like, hey, you're a villain, I'm a villain, let's go be villains together against Dr. Venture. It's not like, I'm a villain, I don't like all of you. Like,
he doesn't like anybody.
I don't like you, the Monarch.
Except for Dr. Girlfriend, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, like, I like that stuff a lot. So, hopefully Dr. Girlfriend gets her own too.
Yeah. She never stops being one of the major characters of the show. She drives a lot of what happens the farther we get into it. Cool. One of my favorite episode of season 2 is Victor Echo November, which is the one where everybody winds up at the same restaurant on a series of dates. So it's Hank and Dean, and then Dr. Orpheus's daughter Triana and one of her friends. And then another table is this awkward double date between Phantom Limb and Dr. Girlfriend, who he's dating right now, and the Monarch and a girl he met on LiveJournal. And he also brought the henchman with him, and he made the henchman sit at the bar.
Oh my God, LiveJournal.
I was on LiveJournal when I was watching this series.
Thankfully, I never was, but I know that era well.
And there's like Billy Quizboy comes up in conversation at some point, and like everybody is this theory of like, or like, no, I heard from somebody like that's how we got the robot arm, and it also has something to do with why Phantom limbs are invisible. Like it goes around and everybody is a different version of I heard this. No. Like there was this experiment that went wrong, and somebody else is like, no, it was this experiment that went wrong in this other way. And it goes around and around. And like the last beat of the episode, then we actually see Billy Quizboy, and he's helping Dr. Venture with something. And Dr. Venture's like, so how'd you get that robot arm? And the last line of the episode is Billy saying, oh yeah, I have no idea how I got this. Smash cut, credits were over.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Did you have a favorite cameo? Because again, this show relies a lot on visual gags of like, oh, there's Scooby and the gang, or there's the Fantastic Four. What was your favorite one?
This isn't a cameo, but I do love the pirate ghost captain, who is like a classic Scooby-Doo type of villain, where he's like a guy pretending to be a pirate ghost to like scare people away from these waters. But then that scheme is over, and he has to figure out how to keep living when he's been a pirate ghost for so long.
Yeah.
And he just like doesn't know what to do with his life. He's like, I don't have career skills. Like being a pirate ghost is everything I know.
He's kind of like the henchman, where he's just like, he's a career pirate now.
Yeah.
But not like a modern day one. He's just like an old school, like, I'm a ghost pirate.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he sticks around. Like he just pops up every once in a while. I don't remember if he ever gets a name. I think they do always just refer to him as, pirate captain.
That's great. I think one of my favorite ones is when Johnny Quest shows up, and he's like stuck in the ship, and they open it up, and he's like now 30 years old. He's like cracked out on something, and that's really the only time you see him, or at least we've seen him in seasons 1 and 2. But it's it's just one of those really, like, it's a stupid moment, but it's one of the moments that this show heavily relies on, like this type of joke. But I like it because it came and went. Yeah. Like, that was it, and then it's gone. It's not like he's a recurring character. It's a recurring thing that he's still stuck down there, and we're just gonna go like deliver him food or something every so often. I
will say he does show up at least one more time. There's an episode with like a support group for former like boy heroes, and there's like these Hardy Boys types and like a Robin type in there.
There you go. Yeah. I liked that one though a lot. That was a good one. I also again, I don't remember her name. The Invisible Woman knockoff,
Sally Impossible.
Sally Impossible. She can make her skin go invisible.
Yeah, that's
just
it.
Like, completely useless, because now all you see is this like walking musculature. And it turns out being this like, I mean, I guess all of the, except for Mr. Impossible, they're all more like horror versions of the characters.
Like the
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, the Human Torch guy, like, he feels the flames, and they have
Yeah.
to keep him in a hyperbaric chamber, like away from any
Where there's
oxygen.
no
Otherwise,
oxygen.
he will just burst into flames and scream.
Yeah, he's just like, ah! It's so good. And then the thing, he's more he is more of this like misunderstood monster of the thing. Like he's not the normal Ben Gurim that we know who can think, and it just is no normal, except that he's this giant rock thing. He is this giant rock thing that is maybe not mentally all the way there. I'm not sure how to say that exactly. But
he's got kind of this like Lenny from Of Mice and Men type of character, where he's sweet and he means well, but now he has preposterous like superhuman strength.
Yeah, but like, because he's, again, for lack of better terms, he's not all there mentally. Like it maybe seems like he's more of a child than he is. Like he comes across more of a monster because he ends up moaning and saying just like, I don't know. It's just like it's a more tragic thing, which is I think of a like horror trope where like the monster is this misunderstood thing. He's not actually a like he's the one that's like, oh, he's just misunderstood, and like if you get to know him, he's actually fantastic. No pun intended. You know. But yeah, I like that stuff. I really like when they get away from that stuff. It's like, cool, you've introduced the joke. Have them go on their own and do things.
Yeah. I think the show is good at that, at having characters that are this initial like great gag, but also are fully realized rich people. I think the show does a great job of having very deep characters and also just a ton of characters. There's just so many people in the show, and they get more and more. And it's this revolving door of like all these characters like popping up like, oh, I didn't think we'd see that guy again, or oh, you're back, or I didn't know you two knew each other. Yeah. And like they're always around. Like my favorite episodes are the ones where there's just like too many of these people in one place together. This is why I love the double date episode and the yard sale episode.
Yeah.
I love the full house conditions that the show puts itself under sometimes.
Yeah. That's a fantastic. I think I think my favorite episode of season 1 had to have been the season finale, just because I like the cliffhanger. But I don't know. It's like season 2 actually has, like, in my mind, season 2 was a lot better than season 1, because now it could start to build on all of that mythology. But yeah, I like the Scooby-Doo one. I really like the one where they hire all the new henchmen, and it's just a bunch of like street thugs, and they like don't listen to authority, and everything goes wrong. Yeah, there's so many good ones in season 2. I will say, kind of the middle of season 2, I started to tune out a little bit every now and then.
The episodes, the way they're ordered on Hulu is different than the way they were ordered on my DVDs.
Interesting.
Like, there's no real major changes, because a lot of these are just sort of adventure of the week sort of episodes. But like in season 2, like you see briefly like Triana Orpheus talking with her friend Kim. And later is the episode where we like really meet her friend Kim, and it doesn't not make sense, but it is weird that they put them in that order instead of, okay, first is the double date episode, and then later is the episode where, like, you know, Kim and Triana come by to see if they can use the venture pool.
Yeah.
It's just little things like that kind of put the show out of order. I'm gonna have to. I haven't
why
checked
they did that.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if like they're putting the episodes on. I didn't look at the air dates that Hulu might list either. I didn't look at it that closely. Like, maybe these were aired in a different order than like they were written in. I don't know, because I didn't start watching the show until like season 4, like halfway through season 4. They did a weird thing with season 4 where most of these seasons are like, it's 13 episodes, it's 13 episodes, it's 13 episodes. Season 4 was 16 episodes divided into 2 8-episode like mini seasons, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. So I started on that second half of season 4, and like the airing order and my DVDs matched each other. But before that, I hadn't really been watching it. So I don't know if like there were things airing out of order compared to the DVDs before that.
Okay. Gotcha. I think, oddly, I also really liked the episode with the ghost of Abraham Lincoln.
Really?
I don't know why, because I feel like that's one of the ones that's most just like, let's kind of ignore all the lore we've made.
Yeah.
For the most part. There are some, there's some returning characters and stuff, but it's like, let's just kind of go over here and have an adventure over here, and it's not dealing with kind of the overall stuff. I just like, because it is one of those things, despite it being in its own corner, we get to see the return of the like astronaut character
Bud
who's been stuck in space.
Manstrong.
Yeah, Bud Manstrong. We get to see the return of him. He's being recognized as a hero. We get to see, like, at the end of the episode, that's when JJ comes in and kind of saves the day by figuring out the force field, or at least I think he does. Yeah, like, there's lore in there, but it seems so just off in its own world, and it's also one that doesn't really rely on, hey, here's the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that one is a lot less like pop culture spoof in it.
Yeah, so it's weird because I liked it for that, of like, oh, they're making up their own thing here, but then it's also like, it feels strange because it's not relying on pop culture stuff.
Yeah. I don't think that episode is like super well regarded, and like, so you can watch all the show on Hulu. I really recommend seeking out the DVDs because the creator commentary on this is so much fun. It's on a handful of episodes in season 1, and then every episode season 2 onward. And I think they talk about how like that episode, like, it kind of came together late. They felt kind of rushed with it. Like, they weren't able to put out like the best script that they wanted to put out, and they weren't super happy with it. But it's like, well, there's an episode filled. We need to do something. But I do love the joke that the ghost of Abraham Lincoln can control things. He's invisible. He's just sort of like a ghostly voice.
His face on them.
Yeah, he can control things in his image. So they like paper mache like bills all over him, and like he's covered in penny armor. And that's how we can walk around and have like a physical form.
Which is like the kind of gag that I want to see. Like, this is their own character.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like, they're making up someone entirely new. Yes, I know that Abe Lincoln was a real person.
He's in the public domain.
Right, but he's not a pop culture reference the same way that Johnny Quest is. And so to see them turn him into this oddball character, like almost pseudo superhero type of thing, is really cool.
Yeah.
Like, I like, they have great ideas. They have this knack to turn these kind of forgotten characters into brand new things, but I don't think they do it that often with all new characters. Well, I mean, I I should take that back, because a lot of the characters are like all new characters, but he's a reference in a different way.
Yeah. Like more of
I
a
don't know.
pastiche.
I feel like I'm speaking nonsense.
No, I get it. Like there are characters that are just sort of like pastiches of things, or there's whole cloth characters. Like there's nobody out there like Billy Quizboy and Pete White.
Yeah.
And then there are characters like, you know, Professor Richard Impossible, where it's like, you're just Reed Richards. Like you're just him.
Yeah. So I'm seeing this on Wikipedia. I'm sure you've listened to all of the commentaries on your DVDs and stuff, but apparently in the commentary for the episode Home Insecurity, Hammer and Public elaborated on the theme of failure.
Yes.
As a recurring theme in this show. And I haven't read all of the stuff that's on here, but that makes sense.
Yeah, that is...
Like, it's all of these forgotten characters that are now jaded and they suck at what they do. They're failures, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of like that. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's absolutely true. And there's another quote from Doc Hammer somewhere that I could find in my old Tumblr blog where he says, like, the world is a perfect cartoon adventure and it's populated by messy people. Like they could be having these grand perfect adventures, but they're all just like so many pitfalls and failures and flaws and hangups that like nothing comes together, nothing works. He's like, that's the joke of the series. That's the major joke of it for us. Like these incredibly flawed characters in this shiny, perfect adventure world.
Right.
And they do talk a lot about the beauty of failure. How like even in being like a flaming wreck of a human being, there's some element of like beauty and grace and authenticity to that.
Okay. Yeah, because like again, I'm thinking back to my theory of like, what if the Venture Burrows refers to Rusty and the Monarch?
Yeah.
And when like the family split or something, because you never really see the mother, the like Rusty's mom, or at least I don't think we've seen.
No. I will say
so.
this, that there's the question of who is Hank and Dean's mom, that comes up a lot.
Yes.
But the question
we saw one episode with that.
But the question of who is Rusty's mom never really gets addressed. Rusty does not talk about his mom or his absence of a mom. So that's a whole side of the family we know nothing about.
Interesting. Because like I'm thinking like, what if the family split because of all the adventuring and like he got one kid and the mom got one kid, and the one that got the mom grew up to be the Monarch because he wanted to be the adventurer, but then Rusty, who like didn't want to be there at all, is now the like jaded I now have to be the adventurer and stuff like that. And so that's why they're arch rivals, but they split so young that maybe they didn't know that they were brothers or something like that. I don't know. But like that would, I think, also speak to the theme of failure.
Yeah.
Because maybe Rusty considered himself a failure, or his father maybe considered him a failure because he wasn't as much of an adventurer as he would like him to be, or as capable. And then there's Monarch wanting, or potentially wanting to be this adventurer and failing, thus becoming a super villain, which maybe he doesn't see it, that's adventuring in its own way. Like he is actually getting to do all of this stuff and travel as he's trying to follow and hunt down Dr. Venture and stuff like that. I don't know if that will come true or not, but I think things are at least coming together in my mind of like,
yeah,
I know where I would take this show.
Yes.
So good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
This is what I appreciate about the show, is that it is just so comedic and so goofy, but also there is this layer of, there's so much pathos here behind everything. If they choose to tap into it, they could tell this really grand emotional story. That potential is always there.
Yeah. I mean, like, they could even explore more on Hank and Dean as clones. Like, what happened to the original ones? Like, let's find that story out.
I think we, at least in the there have been 7 seasons. I've only watched the first 6. When we watch season 7, that will be my first time seeing it as well. Cool. We haven't seen the first time the boys died, and like what that put Rusty through. So that's been a story I've always wanted to see.
Like, yeah, that could be a potential thing of like, hey, I have raised these boys and I have failed them because they died on this adventure that we went on.
And I'll never fail them again.
Now I need to clone them.
There's a line that I don't know if it's in the show or not, but it's printed on like the DVD box for season 2. It's this illustration of like Dr. Venture kind of looking real sassy over his shoulder, like real smarmy, real smug, and it's labeled
in his speed suit.
Yeah, in his speed suit. And there's this text next to it that says, "Love never blows up and gets killed." Which is
okay.
Which is, I think, that's like the slogan of the whole series for me.
Interesting. Okay. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have much more to say on seasons 1 and 2 without continuing to speculate and stuff like that. It's gonna be interesting talking about seasons 2 and 3. And how
3 and 4.
Yeah, my bad. 3 and 4. And how we're gonna end up building on this conversation here.
Yeah.
Or the length of the conversation.
I imagine they would get longer, because these shows start to become a lot more dense with like really great jokes and really great character building and like important pieces of lore.
Yeah. There's still some characters that we didn't really talk about in this one. Maybe we will in the next one. But I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have anything else you wanted to mention and bring up?
I will say that this show, it is a comedy show, and comedy is always like very much of its time. And so coming from like 2004, 2006, it's socially a little rough around the edges. I think the longer
maybe
that
slightly racist at times.
Yeah, like there's all these like stereotypical characters that are playing off like the stereotypical characters from everything that the show is spoofing on. Like Johnny Quest had the same stereotype, so we carry this through because it's a Johnny Quest spoof. Or like, socially the thing does start to like have those rough edges sanded off as just time progresses. And the show does get like, a little bit more conscious of things like that. This is always something I'm worried about, because like I love the show and like I think it's a great, rewarding watch. But to get the most out of it, you do have to go back to these like 2004 episodes that are like, the comedy doesn't always hit and it's a little slower and you don't really get like why this is so great yet. But I'm like, no, you have to watch the whole thing. You have to see like that one guy pop up in the garage sale episode to see where he shows up in season 5.
Yeah.
Like, I think watching the entirety of this thing is so rewarding, but I'm always concerned that like I'll try and explain that to somebody and they'll give it a shot and they're like, I don't see what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's one of the unfortunate things for pieces of media that take a while to get going.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a long running one, because earlier seasons then may not have aged well.
Yeah.
Or have some like racist or misogynist jokes in there. And it's like, well, yeah, you kind of have to put up with that stuff. I know it's not good, but please just grit your teeth and bear it. I promise it gets better.
Like, I love the show, but I do feel like there's an element of me waving my hand saying, like, just stick with it. I promise it gets better.
Yeah.
I promise there's something there.
As long as you can recognize that and be like, hey, some of this stuff is not good. Just be aware of that. Then I think, not that it is palatable, but I think it makes it, I think it helps people just to know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, like, it gets better. I promise. But you kind of need to watch this stuff too to understand some of the lore and history and stuff like that. So
yeah,
cool.
Do you want to do recommendations at the end of every one of these episodes like we would normally do on a review show episode?
Ooh, I don't know. Maybe the first and last.
Okay.
How about we try that?
All right.
I could probably recommend some stuff now, but then I want to see like how that changes at the end of the show.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay. Well, I think you have to go more like the modern day Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. Like,
yes,
you have to go back to all of the stuff that they're pulling from. Of just like, hey, here's Scooby-Doo, here's Johnny Quest. They should remake Johnny
I read
Quest.
Like this article years ago that Robert Rodriguez was going to do a Johnny Quest movie, which sounds amazing. And I've heard nothing about that. So I don't know if that dissolved or got stuck in development hell or what. But message from me to you, Robert Rodriguez, please still make a Johnny Quest movie.
Yeah. I would also recommend the Quantum and Woody comics.
Yes.
That we read a while back here on the review show. It is the same type of thing where they are spoofing on superhero comics and pop culture stuff. There's like jokes in there that are very irreverent and also maybe not have aged as well as they could have. But there's multiple Quantum and Woody series since Valiant Comics has kind of relaunched all of their stuff. So it's continued, and I think it's gotten better. It's of that same type of like irreverent comedy.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
And like the joke I referenced earlier where somebody's talking to Jefferson Twilight, like, so you hunt African American vampires? And he's like, I go around the whole world. That's not a term everywhere. You can say just hunt black vampires. I hunt blackulas. This is what I do. Like that same sort of like pedantic, like, well, really you should say it like this. Like that same tone of humor. Like that same style of like nailing down on very precise wording is the same style of humor that Quantum and Woody has.
Yeah. If you want to take that a step further and be even more irreverent, I would say go watch Black Dynamite. The movie is fucking hilarious. I think they made a cartoon. I think it was also on Adult Swim, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't seen the cartoon, but I've seen the movie, and it's spoofing on the like 70s blaxploitation stuff. Here's the like black martial artist hero that can get all the ladies and do all that sort of stuff. It's hilarious. But I think that's even like a step further and like more irreverent and
Yeah.
like it. Yeah. So, go check out that stuff.
Those are
Do you have
solid
something else that you
recommendations.
would like to recommend?
I had a friend once describe this show as adult Kim Possible, where they're all trying to have sex with each other. And I'm like, that's it. Like, this is now how I pitch the show to other people. I'm like, it's adult Kim Possible. Like, think of it like that. It's got that same sense of the combination of very mundane things and like very outlandish, cartoonish things and the sort of regulation of like, how do you live as a supervillain? What is your everyday life like? What does your relationship with your nemesis become after you're seeing each other constantly and like watching each other age?
Yeah. Fascinating.
I would also say stylistically, for the mid-century style and also for the sense of superhero-dom and supervillain-dom as the sort of like organized like businessy thing with like rules and regulations and classes and all that. The Incredibles.
Okay.
I watched a lot. The Incredibles was also something I was very into in college.
Yeah.
I was all
it's a
about
fantastic
like
one.
mid-century takeoffs on super heroic super science adventures.
Yeah.
That was my aesthetic.
Okay. That's good. That's good. I'm trying to open up stuff that we are doing for next week.
Yeah, next week we are doing what you pitched to me at the end of last week's episode. So this is just sort of injected in the middle of our regular week by week cycle. So last week we watched the horror comedy movie Ready or Not, which was my pick. And then you pitched to me, and I ended up picking the first 2 volumes of the Lock and Key comics.
Correct.
Yes.
Let me, I think I just found it. There it is. I was looking for the Comixology page, and I was too stubborn to actually type in Comixology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Lock and Key is a comic book by Joe Hill with art by Gabriel Rodriguez, I believe is his name. And it's a fantastic, really imaginative horror book, but it's, again, horror in a really imaginative, character-driven way. It's not a slasher or stuff like that. It's written by Joe Hill, who is Stephen King's son. So if you're a fan of Stephen King, this might be something you would also want to check out. But it is, I think, as you mentioned, soon to be a Netflix show.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch the show, so I pitched this so we could do it basically in tandem of like, hey, if you guys want some more Lock and Key stuff, here it is. So, the acclaimed blah 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 Lock and Key, written by blah blah blah. Where is this stuff? Lock and Key tells of Key House, an unlikely New England mansion with fantastic doors that transform all who dare to walk through them, and home to a hate-filled and relentless creature that will not rest until it forces open the most terrible door of them all. Bum, bum, bum. Check it out. This is all on Comixology Unlimited. We're only gonna check out the first 2 volumes this next week. But there is more of it on there for you to check. I think all of it is on there. You can just go read all of Lock and Key if this is something that you guys liked and want to check out. But that's what we'll be up to next week.
Nice.
For more Venture Brothers stuff, we will see you at the end of February.
Yeah, so that episode, I suppose, if we record it the last Sunday, that would be releasing on the 26th of February.
Okay, perfect. Literally a month now in number-wise.
Wow.
I that was not... It's not literally a month, but, you know.
Yeah.
We're recording this on Sunday, the 26th of January. So that's what I meant by that. Cool. Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT.
You guys can find me at YoKyleSpringer on Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want to stay up to date with our shows, we are at The Whatnauts on Twitter. We mentioned our website, thewhatnauts.com, our Patreon, patreon.com/thewhatnauts. Go like, share, subscribe, do all of that stuff. We would absolutely love your guys' support on all of that stuff. Cool. I think that wraps us up then for Venture Bros Part 1.
Yes.
I'm excited to continue this journey down the road. We will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for checking out our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. If you are a fan of the Venture Brothers, stick around. But let us know, I guess, what your favorite episode from seasons 1 and 2 was in the comments below. No spoilers, though, because I still haven't seen it yet. But in the meantime, also go subscribe to our channel, which is right up here in that corner. Go watch one of our other videos, which is right down there in that corner. We got a whole bunch of them for you to check out. Besides the review show, there might be something else down there. Who knows? But we will see you guys next time. Bye.